From the job site to the code book, this is a Pool Envy podcast, where licensed pool professionals speak up. Code, compliance, craftsmanship. Hosted by Jason Davies. Licensed across Wisconsin, Florida, and Texas. Your deep end starts now.
Welcome back to the Pool Envy podcast. This is part one of a three-part series called Your Pool is Talking to You. I want to begin with a simple idea. Operating and healthy are not the same thing. A pool can hold water and still have a significant structural concern. A heater can fire today while conditions exist that are shortening its life. An electrical system can function while developing safety issues. A ventilation system can move air while failing to protect the building. The fact that something works does not immediately mean that it is healthy. One of the biggest mistakes I see in property ownership is waiting for a total failure before paying attention. People wait for the heater to stop. They wait for the pump to fail. They wait for the crack to grow. They wait for the breaker to trip repeatedly. They wait for the leak to become obvious. The problem is that major failures rarely arrive without warning. Most systems spend months, years, and sometimes decades communicating before a significant event occurs. The challenge is that systems do not speak English. They communicate through symptoms. Corrosion is communication. Condensation is communication. Cracks are communication. Error codes are communication. Leaks are communication. Rust is communication. Even excessive chemical consumption can be communication. The system is talking. The question is whether anyone is listening. One of the habits we develop as human beings is treating the symptom we can see. A heater displays an error code. A breaker trips. A stain appears. A crack develops. An alarm sounds. The natural reaction is to make the symptom go away. Reset the breaker. Replace the sensor. Patch the crack. Clean the stain. Clear the fault. And sometimes those actions are appropriate. But there is a difference between resolving a condition and silencing a warning. Those are not always the same thing. Years ago, drivers diagnosed problems by listening to a vehicle. A slight vibration. A new sound. A hesitation during acceleration. People paid attention because they understood that machines often announce problems before they fail. Today, our equipment is even more capable of communicating. It provides fault codes, sensor readings, pressure changes, flow changes, warning lights. The problem is that many people are focused on making the warning disappear rather than understanding why it appeared. One of the most valuable tools I have learned over the years is surprisingly simple. When something unusual occurs, ask two questions. What happened before? What happened after? Those two questions reveal more than most people realize. Recently, I received an inquiry regarding a pool and spa with recurring heater faults. The owner wanted the heaters evaluated. A perfectly reasonable request. But my first thought was not about the heater. My first thought was, what changed? The intake noted that the venting components had recently been replaced. The pumps had been replaced. The filter had been replaced. Now, those facts don't prove anything, but they create a timeline. And timelines matter. If a heater begins experiencing faults after equipment changes, that is worth understanding. If corrosion appears after a ventilation change, that is worth understanding. If a crack develops after excavation, that is worth understanding. The timeline does not automatically establish cause and effect, but it often points us toward the truth. One of the reasons this matters is that expensive failures rarely begin as expensive failures. They begin as small observations. A little corrosion, a little moisture, a little movement, a nuisance trip, a warning light, a fault code. Most people dismiss those observations because the system still works. But systems often communicate long before consequences arrive. I remember performing an evaluation for a prospective property buyer. The pool appeared operational. The equipment ran. The room looked presentable. To an untrained observer, everything seemed fine. But when we started reading the signals, a different story emerged. Electrical concerns, mechanical concerns, environmental concerns. Questions that could not be answered simply by turning equipment on and off. The value of that evaluation was not the report itself. The value was understanding the condition of the property before making a major financial decision. That is an important distinction. The purpose of an evaluation is not to create problems. The purpose is to understand conditions. Sometimes the result is reassuring. Sometimes it is uncomfortable. Sometimes the answer is to proceed. Sometimes the answer is to stop. But in every case, the goal is the same: to make a better decision with better information. As we continue this series, I want you to begin looking at your own pool differently. Don't just ask whether it is working. Ask what it is telling you. Pay attention to the corrosion. Pay attention to the moisture. Pay attention to the unusual sounds. Pay attention to the fault codes. Pay attention to small changes that seem insignificant. Because the future has a habit of sending signals before it sends consequences. And by the time the consequences arrive, the signal has often been present for quite some time. In our next episode, we're going into the equipment room. We'll discuss how chemistry, hydraulics, airflow, corrosion, and mechanical systems leave clues that many homeowners walk past every day without realizing what they mean. Until next time, don't just ask what's happening. Ask what happened before.
This podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not legal advice, and it is not site-specific engineering, code, or safety determination. All field conditions should be evaluated in context. Thanks for listening to the Pool Envy Podcast, where licensed pool professionals speak up. Hosted by Jason Davies, licensed across Wisconsin, Florida, and Texas. For more insights, subscribe and join us next time.